My name's Abel Kloster, and I'm the forester at the Center for Rural Livelihoods.
In the 1980s, this forest was a dense stand of even-aged Douglas fir. There was no understory.
Imagine behind me, 700 trees per acre, half of them standing dead.
Now, 40 years into our stewardship plan, we have been able to take more wood out of the forest than if we had just clear-cut it right in the beginning, and yet we have more wood standing than when we began. That's all in the context of helping this forest succeed to this more diverse forest type. This is the kind of thing that's possible with restoration forestry. It's one thing to know your land is damaged and needs serious repair, but really, the important question is, what are we restoring to? And the answer can branch out in a lot of different directions. Ultimately, the word restoration and restoration forestry can be taken to mean restoring to rich and healthy landscapes, to thriving communities and economies, and to cultural traditions around stewardship. Even the forestry part isn't so simple, because trees are just one component of biodiverse habitats and agricultural ecologies. At CRL, we hope to model all these approaches to showcase what local impact a robust forest practice might make in our community. But the model we strive for is, of course, older than us.
The Center for Rural Livelihoods is on the ancestral homelands of the Komema Kalapuya, who have been managing this landscape since time immemorial.
Prior to colonization, this land was a mosaic of bottomland riparian forests, oak savannas and woodlands, and ancient conifer groves, all actively managed for many thousands of years for a vast array of yields. This serves as our primary example of a holistic approach to the land. And as we chart that path, we seek to support the work of projects like Komema Cultural Protection Association, who preserve and promote traditional lifeways. This all fits into our forestry context, which has the opportunity to take the long view as we ask how best to engage in this regeneration of the habitat and the forest ecosystem, while at the same time deriving products from the forest. Usually in Western Oregon, timber companies clear-cut Douglas fir stands. This requires replanting a very small array of light-loving species and then managing native brush like bigleaf maple, alder, and chinkapin to prevent competition with the new trees. You do this for multiple rotations, and this inevitably leads to increases in invasive brush, which leads to lots of herbicides for vegetation control to promote the growth of a single species in a landscape that never moves back toward a biodiverse forest. At CRL, we take a different approach. We annually remove individual and small groups of trees across all age classes to maintain the conditions of a natural and biodiverse forest. By not introducing the immense disturbance of a clear cut, we can forego the use of seedling planting, pre-commercial thinning, herbicides, nor set in place a long waiting game as we let a new generation of trees grow to harvestable age. For us, it's more important to consider what we're keeping in the forest than what we're taking out. We generally remove the weaker growing trees and only a fraction of the big healthy trees in any harvest. This leaves the healthiest trees to continue to put on wood volume and supply the forest with new seedlings. For the understory, we select trees like hemlock, yew, red cedar, and hardwood trees like madrone or chinkapin. Our forestry work is woven into our work with water, which can't help but dovetail with our agroforestry, grazing, and fire reduction work as well. We've placed more than 30 check dams into the creek and built ponds in connection with our low-impact forest access roads. Our agroforestry systems soften the edge between gardens and closed forest, create rich habitat at the forest edge, and integrate with our sheep, which we use to maintain open woodland and reduce fire risk. As for the timber products themselves that over the years we've seen this forest produce, the results are characteristically high quality and diverse, but this isn't quite how things are done in surrounding large-scale operations here in Oregon. A lot of our rural communities are suffering. Automation, boom and bust extraction economies, a depleting natural resource base, consolidation of industry, and of course, all with the backdrop of an increasingly erratic climate. These things are all taking a toll. Recently, for instance, warehouser workers here in this town actually went on strike for not even getting a proper wage and healthcare benefits. They ended up with a mediocre contract that didn't address their core concerns about healthcare. Obviously, the way our forests relate to our economy affects the way people relate to their community. Here at CRL, we start with that community being the focus.
In the early years when this forestry project began, almost all of the wood was pole-sized, and we used it for small diameter round poles or for firewood. A lot of our small diameter poles were harvested in one thinning and used to build our community meeting hall.
That building was framed with about 4-inch diameter round poles, and it's now been worked into the county code that that's a viable building practice. A lot of the buildings on campus are round pole. As time has gone on and our trees have gotten bigger, we've been doing a lot more dimensional milling as well as round pole timber framing. We're lucky enough to know some top-notch timber framers in the area and work with millers to process the lumber within the forest itself. Our forestry project has always worked to connect the management of the forest to the well-being of our rural areas, and one of the ways that we do this is to build local supply chains. We sell wood locally and have a few partnerships with local nonprofits, including Bring, a local salvage material shop, which sells our milled lumber for retail, Square One Villages, an affordable housing community land trust, and Comema Cultural Protection Association, an indigenous cultural education and preservation nonprofit. We also run projects focused on workforce development and restoration forestry extension. We partner with the Southern Willamette Prescribed Burn Association to run fire trainings, work with Oregon State University on workshops for forestry workers, and recently put out a series of videos and a handbook on Northwest agroforestry.
Since I've been here, I've seen this move from a forest that just has only Douglas fir to madrone, grand fir, western hemlock, incense cedar, hazel, dogwood, and now we're in a phase where we're starting to see a new generation of trees come up in the understory.
With restoration forestry, we know even that's only half the story. Forestry becomes this tool to restore watersheds, restore hydrology and the availability of water for communities. We can also think of forestry as a way to build fire-adapted communities and as provisioning a diversity of products to replenish rural economies. It really widens the scope of what forestry can be.
Plus, it's just nice to be in here.